This is the Lincoln Journal-Star editorial board endorsement interview with Jennifer Hicks. She is a Republican candidate for the Nebraska Attorney General position. Jennifer, thank you so much for being with us today. First, we'll introduce our other two editorial board members who are on board, and then we will dive into the questions and let you do the talking. Kent, you want to say hi?
Hey, I'm Kent Walgamot. I write about arts and entertainment, and I've been on the editorial board for 12 years.
Hi, Jennifer. I'm Pat Sangemino. I am a news editor here, and I've been on the editorial board for 2 years, I think, 3 years.
All right. Well, Jennifer, our first question is a chance for you to introduce yourself. Why do you want to be the Attorney General of Nebraska? And what experiences and attributes do you have that qualify you for it and would make you excel?
Okay, well, I am a homeschool mom. I live in Peru, Nebraska, and I have lived in Nebraska since 2004. We moved here from Arkansas, so if you detect a bit of an accent, that's fine. And to be quite honest, I never sought to be running for any office at all. I find the world of politics to be a pretty disgusting place, quite honestly. And the only reason that I have stepped in and offered myself as a candidate is because I'm not being represented by government at all. And I have waited. I've been involved since the November 2020 election. I've tried to engage with government at every level, from the governor, attorney general, secretary of state, and every single community. And I'm not getting my voice heard. So this is my way of inserting my voice, and then to see if there are people who share the views that I do, and they have a conflict other than what's currently out there. So I'm just trying to present a way for me to have my own voice. Currently, it's not. And I don't feel like people are. When I travel around the state, I hear from other people. A lot of Nebraskans are jaded. They don't expect our politicians to be. And I know for a fact not, because that's what spurred me on to be a candidate, is that our system of government isn't currently working. As for my qualifications, I have a master's degree in English. I did attend law school, and I left in my first semester because I found law school to socialist indoctrination. That was instead of law. And yep, did you have a question?
Well, I was just going to ask. Your voice is kind of cutting in and out. I don't know if you can, your microphone can be a little closer to you, or.
Yeah, if I move it closer, this is my kid's microphone. Is that helping to move it closer?
Yeah, I think that's better.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Thanks
not
a
used
bunch.
to using that. Okay. Yeah. If you let me know if I need to change anything.
No,
So
that sounds good.
Were you able to hear my previous answers?
Yeah.
You said you left law school.
Yeah.
That's right. I went to law school in Little Rock, Arkansas, and I left in my first semester. I didn't like the way in the classes because I was interested in constitutional law.
We're losing you again. I'm not sure what's going on.
Do we have a bad connection?
Hang on a sec. I'll unplug this microphone. Is that any better?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's just my camera. I didn't think that microphone would work as well, so I'll use that.
This sounds good.
So where should I pick up? I was in law school.
Law school.
Yeah, for the first semester, and I ended up leaving because I didn't believe that they were teaching in a way that was what I wanted to pursue as a path of a career field in law. There was a lot of just different interpretations of the Constitution than I had, and I believe that there is a reason why a lot of people during our COVID-19 response were not able to find constitutional lawyers to defend them. I know people who sought out legal guidance, legal professionals, and had to look outside our state. So I think that, that was 20 years ago that I attended law school briefly. And I just believe that the way that people are being trained doesn't result in us having legal representation that represents the views of people who believe that the Constitution should be followed and that that's how our rights should be defended. There's a very, very big shortage of legal representation. And there's a shortage of elected officials who are following our Constitution as well, which is another reason that I'm running. I don't think we
This is a sort of a follow-up question to that. I imagine you've looked into this, but I mean, is it possible to be the Attorney General without a law degree? Because I believe you support you. I mean, you have to defend the state in court actions and things like that.
Correct. Yes, it is not a requirement to hold office of Attorney General in the state of Nebraska.
Okay. So next question, the current Attorney General, Doug Peterson, he's not running for re-election, but he's been involved in filing amicus briefs on issues like challenging election results, hormone therapy for transgender, or blocking hormone therapy for transgender teens, legalization of marijuana issues. How interested are you in joining the legal fight in other states? And if you are interested, what issues are you most interested in helping to fight?
Election integrity would be at the top. As far as Attorney General Peterson goes, I don't think that he's done enough. And I believe that we definitely as a state have not been a leader on any of those issues we joined in. I think that there are atrocities that have taken place in Washington, D.C. with people being held without being given due process following the January events. I think that we shouldn't have political prisoners in the United States of America, and I think that it would have been a good thing for attorneys general across the nation to have spoken up on that matter. With regard to what Attorney General Peterson has done, he did eventually address the issue of the availability of drugs that could save lives, like ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. I think that came too late. I think that what's happening is our government often doesn't do anything until it's too late, until a lot of harm and damage has been done. And with regard to how people's rights are being defended regarding mask mandates, I know that Governor Ricketts had asked Attorney General Peterson to file a lawsuit against the Omaha. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. It sounded like I was interrupted. Okay.
No, sorry.
Okay. That's all right. It's just a sound, I guess. I know that that Governor Ricketts had asked Attorney General Peterson to file a lawsuit against the Omaha health director. And when you look at that closer, though, what's happening is that this is not a defense of the people's rights to refuse to wear masks. What the lawsuit is about is a struggle, a debate over who has the right to impose such mandates. And I think that the right questions aren't being asked, that need to be asked to defend the people's rights. And that is the only job of the government, is to defend people's rights, and it's not being done.
Okay, I don't know why, but you're cutting out a little bit again. So I don't know whether there's a microphone issue or.
I don't know. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yep, and we hear you. I hear you great some of the time too. I don't think anybody's gonna have a hard time. I could just turn up the volume too, but.
Okay.
So my next question for you, the Attorney General's office is where we go to receive rulings on public records requests, when we have questions about open meetings laws, just generally is in charge of deciding how transparent government should be. How transparent do you think government should be?
Well, with regard to open meetings laws, I will say we need more transparency. I've experienced problems with that myself since I've gotten involved in government. That's just a system of the 2020 election. But when I would visit my city council to discuss, they were trying to address issues with mask mandates, and we had problems during COVID. During COVID, everything kind of went to online, Zoom meetings and things like that. Things weren't being conducted in person. And there was a little bit of trickery that went on in ways that attorneys were able to circumvent the way that things should have been done to provide the proper transparency. Because in a circumstance, in an environment where we were told that we shouldn't be leaving our homes and going to public places, we had people conducting meetings, but they were only posting. And they were following the law, it was meeting the letter of the law, but they were only posting meeting notices in places where people had to physically show up to see them. Now, this was not consistent with what had previously been done. So things that would normally have been posted online on our city website were sometimes excluded, so that if they didn't want public involvement and were trying to get around that and not have people show up when they knew that people were interested in matters of regarding the COVID response and the mask mandates. So I've experienced personally how my local government tries to get around that. So with regard to the Open Meetings Act and transparency in general, I am all for transparency in every way possible. And that's something I think needs to be changed. I think that in addition to the places that are posted where open meetings, where meeting notices are posted, I think there should be a requirement to have it posted on a city website. And that's not currently the case.
I also asked about public records, and those can be anything from real estate transfers to, concealed carry permits or matters of public record. What are your thoughts on those?
Well, when it comes to information about Second Amendment issues, I don't think that the government needs to know I don't think anybody needs to know who has what permits and who has what firearms. So I guess it depends. I would say probably based on what you're asking, it would be on a case-by-case basis, because if it's regarding Second Amendment rights and issues, I don't think that there needs to be any level of transparency to our government when they have no right to intrude on that. So I think on a case-by-case basis, because that is a totally different answer than I would give you is regarding transparency of, our access to a meeting that should be available. So I think based on what you're saying, it really depends on a case-by-case basis as to what protects people's rights, because that's the only job of government, to protect the people's rights. And so that would be the way that I would approach any of those, is what protects the people's rights. In the case of the meetings, the right for the people are to have access to the government that is going on. When it comes to Second Amendment issues, or who gets to know your concealed carry or your any information about you regarding that. It just depends. It depends on the issue.
Okay. I have one more sort of issue related question, then we'll see if Pat or Kent have any, and then I've got my last question. But you mentioned mask and vaccine issues. Those were sort of indicative of bigger issues that you talked about. What other things do you see on the horizon that the Attorney General will have to deal with? What concerns you next?
What concerns me is the loss of freedom that we've experienced, because no one in our government is speaking common sense. And I'll go back to masks again, just to give you an example of that. My son, 18 years old, went to Peru State College last fall. There was a mask requirement the first 2 weeks, and he said, "We don't wear masks, and it won't be for 2 weeks." So he moved into the dorms, and they told him, "Well, just don't wear a mask for 2 weeks, and you can take it in the third week." The third week comes along, and he attends class without a mask. Well, the mask requirement was still in place. During that 2 weeks that he was there, not attending class, he could go anywhere on the campus without a mask on, indoors or outdoors, cafeteria, library, it didn't matter. And no one said a thing to him. But it was only when he stepped inside a classroom, which is the purpose of him being here in the first place, that was when it was a problem, and he was met with people who told him, "You will put on a mask or you will have to withdraw from youth college." And it makes no sense. This is not a measure protective of anyone's health. And there have been a lot of things that have happened. It was never to protect anyone's health. The giveaway for that was that there was always an exemption allowed for sports. And if this were truly a concern about protecting people's health and saving lives, there would never have been an exception made for sports, because sports violated absolutely every risk factor that the Department of Health and Human Services said that we shouldn't be doing. You could meet in any number that it took to make a team, but I was told, we couldn't have. We the people were told you have to limit your Thanksgiving, Christmas gatherings to only a certain number, and athletes were allowed to engage in physical contact, and they were allowed to keep up with masks. And so, even at the peak mortality of COVID response, I could look in the newspapers and see that like the top staff pics of photos, and it would show athletes huddled together, engaged in contact in large numbers of groups. And so what I'm saying is that this doesn't make sense. And so when you're talking about what I see looking forward, I'm looking forward in terms of putting pressure on anyone else in our government. That would be my job, is to be a voice that, like I said, my voice is not being represented. No one's speaking out and saying that what we're being asked to do is defies reason and logic. It's just not common sense. They feel like there's not any critical being used. It doesn't make sense. And no one stood up for my kid. No one stuck up for my kid when he was asked to leave college. And so I'm doing that for him now. And for other people who I know, some of them experience worse consequences. Parents with kids who had to lose their jobs or have their jobs threatened. And we have a Nebraska state constitution that says that there shall be no religious test for a person to hold an elected position. And yet we have elected officials who ignore the fact that Nebraskans all across the state were being subjected to religious tests. And so there's a double standard there. And we have people who are asking to represent us but do not do the job. And that's looking for that's the only thing I seek to do, is to put my own voice out there. And if others, others agree with that,
All right, Pat, Kent, Pat's got a question.
First of all, I want to know how the campaign is going and how you reconcile the fact that you're running for Attorney General, but you're not an attorney. How do you convince voters about this?
Well, like I said, the voters will get to decide. That's always the voters who get to decide. So I have a lot of content online, so people can go to voicesofnebraska.com, that is my campaign website, and they're able to see what I've been doing. Also, I have a Facebook group that I was involved in even before I was ever considered running for office. And so my views are out there. If people want to know where I stand on any given issue, they can find that. As far as how my campaign is going, I'll tell you what else. Another thing that I'm doing is a bit of a political experiment, because I am not asking for campaign donations. And I believe that with the problems that I see in our world right now, I don't like how politics is run. Our politics right now are money driven, and I believe that they should be people powered. And that is not going to ever change. And there's not going to be any change ever if somebody doesn't step up and challenge that. And I'll tell you, there is a lot of pushback from within my own party that tells me that this can't be done. And perhaps it can't, but no one's going to know just how far a person can go, with on the will of the people and the interest of the people, which a government of the people, by the people, and for the people should involve the people. It's when the people withdraw from that, then our government becomes something else. And I think that's where we are right now. But so it's an experiment to find out how many people are as concerned as I am about what's going on. And if there are enough people that are concerned, they're going to find me. They're going to seek me out. And then that's I just think that our politics needs to be done differently. I don't think that it is in the interest of the people. I think it's in the interest of the politicians the way it's currently done.
Why did you choose this office?
Oh, the Office of Attorney General?
Yes.
Well, like I said, I did enter law school a long time ago. I've always had an interest in, in the law. As an English major, I will tell you, I favor the way that Justice Scalia and Justice Thomas viewed Justice Thomas is still alive, how he views the Constitution. The way that they read the Constitution reminds me of how I would read it as an English major. And it's just an interest, something that I'm passionate about, and I believe that my rights should be, upheld and defended, and they currently aren't. So just from that perspective, some people did try to talk me into running for Secretary of State, but I believe that.
All right, thank you.
All right, Ken, do you have anything, or can I do my last question?
Real quick, the Office of Attorney General in Nebraska is far different than the federal, which is obviously an appointed office. This is an elected office, yet the Attorney General is also called upon to give legal counsel, I guess you would say, to the governor, and also defend the legislative action in court. So you can be independent, but you can't really be independent. How do you see that fitting in?
I like this question actually, because I think that that's something that we need to examine. The job of the Attorney General is to represent the legal interests of the state, but the state should be representative of the people, right? Because our elected officials are representatives of the people. And so that's not happening right now. And so people's rights are not being defended. So don't seek to approach this in any political way, only in the way that I put the Constitution, and that is not currently being done.
So last question for you, Jennifer, and that is, what have we not asked you that you wish we had?
Well, I'll tell you what, my top concern is our elections right now. And I have exhausted every level of our government from top to bottom. I mean, I think that we see it also reflected in our federal government, the failures of our government to acknowledge the concerns of the people regarding our elections. And I believe that without a doubt, I believe that our May 10th primary is going to be conducted unconstitutionally with the ES&S services that are in place. I have brought these concerns to every level of government within our state, and they do not listen. They don't address it. They make excuses. And so what I am doing now is I'm telling people I don't think that we should look to our elected officials right now because they're not listening. They fail us. And so my call to action for those who are currently candidates is that they should listen to the outcome of any May 10th primary until the rights of the people are upheld. And if the ES&S services are in that primary, we will have conducted our election unconstitutionally. And it's been done in the past, but we didn't know that. And knowing what we know now, that our votes are nothing but political theater. We mark a ballot, and then the rest of the process. I mean, our Secretary of State Evans says it's the machines that count our votes. He chooses that over allowing the people to be the ones to count votes. We're so far removed from the process that we have no hand in it, no say in it, no oversight of it. The oversight of our elections comes from the federal level, and the extent to which the federal government is involved in elections with their own state, I believe it's also unconstitutional. We never had a vote on that. We're taxed heavily on it. They charge us this. We pay for these services, and but we were never asked if we wanted them, and it denies us our right to know that our votes were cast. And in the way that I see it, that means we're not free people. We're not free people. We do not have a vote. Our vote is our voice in government, no matter how we vote, no matter what party we're in. And so to preserve and protect that constitutional right, I do believe that those who are running for office and seeking to be representatives of us should be voices now to defend the rights of the people, because the people who are currently elected aren't doing it. And so that's what I would call for, is for them to make that a part of their campaign message, and to commit that we don't move forward from this point, that we find a solution. I'm tired of excuses. I'm tired of people told there's nothing they can do. Well, if there's nothing that they can do, then let's find people who can find solutions.
All right. Well, Jennifer, we thank you for your time today. We will conclude the interview. We appreciate everyone who sticks their neck out and has the courage to run for office. So we wish you the best, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.